We are finally back with Tier 1 Counter-Strike. After a month of no Counter-Strike at the top level due to the player break, we are finally back. You've seen a lot of Instagram stories, you've seen a lot of players posting about their nice beaches, you know, the nice hotels, all that kind of stuff. Well, that's done now, boys. We're back into the nitty-gritty, we're back into the tournament circuit, and we started off with Blast Premier Fall Group Stage. We learned a lot from that tournament, and in this video I will walk through some of the main points. I'm not gonna touch on every single team that played, 12 teams divided into 4 groups, but the main storylines will be covered in this video. So if you didn't catch the entirety of Blast, or if you wanna, I guess, hear a TLDR of what I thought of the tournament, then listen in the next 10-ish minutes. First and foremost, let's start with the good stuff. Zywoo is back. I don't know if you guys remember, but the beginning of the season, Zywoo was struggling a little bit. His rating was not as high as it used to be. He wasn't really in the conversation for whether or not he was even the second best player of the first 6 months of the year. Zywoo was, you know, by his own standards, struggling a little bit. Now, ever since Blast Lisbon, Zywoo has been firing on all cylinders, and he did the same during the group stage right here. He was one of the best players in the entire tournament. He was, without a doubt, Vitality's best player as well. Vitality, who fielded in Spinks, the new guy. They were changing up some positions, they were trying to accommodate Spinks, but overall Zywoo still stood out as the main guy. For me personally, it's fantastic to see. I love when Zywoo is playing well. For 2 years we had the conversation, is Simple the best, is Zywoo the best? And listen, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Simple, for the vast majority, have been the best player, but you know, the way Zywoo has been playing the last, I'd say, 2 months just before the player break and now coming out of the player break, we may can restart that conversation. We may have a chance of actually once again discussing whether or not we think Simple or Zywoo is the best at the moment. It's good to see Zywoo playing well, and it's definitely one of the highlights for me during the tournament. Super excited to tell you guys that I've extended my sponsorship with Skin Baron. Skin Baron is a marketplace that on average is 30% cheaper than the Steam market when it comes to CSGO skins. You can buy, you can sell, and you can find your favorite knife, SMG, rifle, pistol, whatever you may like in there. Gloves, they have a huge inventory of cool skins. So make sure to check them out in the link below the video. Once again, thank you to Skin Baron, and thank you to you guys for supporting my content. Second of all, m0NESY, another AWP player, having a fantastic tournament during the group stage. MVP of the entire thing, he lifted the trophy, he won the MVP award. G2 qualified as well for the fall finals in Royal Arena, thanks to m0NESY. Having the best tournament he's ever had for G2, he stepped up massively. Now, part of the story, of course, is that G2 made roster changes. In came Huxi, in came JKS, and now the rest of the boys in, I believe that's Nico, of course, m0NESY and Hunter, well, they had to step up, right? They had to accommodate the 2 new players, and they had to show the way, and my oh my did m0NESY do that. The AWP flex, the clutches, we've seen it all before, but we haven't seen it as consistently as we saw during the Blast group stage. It was fantastic to see. Every single game m0NESY found impact, every single game he tried to be the difference maker, and m0NESY, I guess, being 17 years of age, is already starting to mature as a Counter-Strike player. Watching him during the group stages was fantastic, and it bounds well for the rest of the year. One can only imagine what m0NESY will be able to accomplish for the rest of the year if this is how he's gonna start out after a long player break. I am a big fan of m0NESY, and I'm super happy that we got to see m0NESY play well. Another positive note is Liquid bringing back some life to North American Counter-Strike. I don't know if any of you guys are from North America out there. If so, shout out to you guys for watching the YouTube channel. Also, it's been pretty goddamn dire from the scene for quite some time. E.g. Complexity, they were also part of the tournament. We're not going to talk too much about it because they didn't really do anything, to be completely honest. Complexity, you can argue that the best of 1 win they had against NaVi with no Simple because he was not playing in the tournament was okay, but outside of that, nothing came out of NA outside of Team Liquid. Yekindar coming in from Europe, coming into North American Counter-Strike, and instantly you see Liquid playing well. Elise seems to be back to his best. NaVi starting to step up. OC, the AWP player from Liquid, also having some great series. But overall, Yekindar coming in is the big story for me. He's elevated Liquid to a level we haven't seen Liquid play at for quite some time. He is a fantastic signing, and I am crossing my fingers that Liquid will find a way to keep him for the future. He's not fully signed yet. He's signed on for Blast and I think also the Major, but he doesn't officially have a full contract yet. If if I'm Liquid, I'm gonna give the man as much money as he wants to, and then I'm gonna sign that kid, because he made Liquid look like a proper top team again, which we haven't seen for quite some time. Well done to Liquid, well done to Yekindar. It's fantastic to see. Another thing, and another roster change coming out of the break, was obviously Dexter going to OG. A lot of people were like, okay, Dexter, you choose OG. I thought he could have found a better team, but maybe it makes sense, you know. OG is a team that's going to give him all the space in the world. They basically said as well, we are going to make the team surrounded, or we are going to surround the team around Dexter. Basically, they want him to be the star. They want him to be the difference maker, and they believe that with Dexter in the lineup, they can once again rise to a level where they will be, I guess, competitive when it comes to placing top 7, top 8, top 9 in the world. I think OG haven't been that for quite some time, but I think with Dexter, which we also saw during the Blast group stages, they're taking strides in the right direction. A big surprise, they qualified for the fall finals. No one would have expected that, especially after the first week where they actually finished 4th in the group stage. They came into the last chance qualifier, or came into the gauntlet, I guess, in the last spot, had to win 3 best of 3s in order to make it, and they did it. OG played some damn solid Counter-Strike, and they took down FaZe Clan, the reigning champions, FaZe Clan, in a do-or-die match. So well done to OG in that one. Fantastic showing. Dexter with a fantastic showing. Flamesy with a fantastic showing. Overall, as a team, they look solid, and that was a pleasant surprise. Vitality as well. Spoke a little bit about it with Zywoo, but as a team, they also took steps in the right direction. Let's put it that way. They're building up a new foundation. They brought in Spinks. They replaced him with Masuda, and you know, pound for pound, player for player, no doubt that Spinks is a much player than Masuda. Spinks also had a decent tournament. He wasn't necessarily the difference maker every single game. There was still Zywoo, as we spoke about, but it was clear to see that the vision for Spinks and the vision for Vitality for the future is that they want to accommodate him. We saw Apex move positions on the CT side. Apex, who was always played CT side yard on Nuke. All of a sudden, he was playing ramp, a position that, you know, on paper is not really suitable for Apex. You saw some setups change on the CT side of Mirage as well. So it was very clear to me to see that they're trying to really accommodate and play into Spinks' favor. To me, that's a good thing. I think Spinks is the future of Vitality, but it's also one of the reasons why they didn't really get the result they wanted. They started off by beating G2 in the gauntlet, and then in the do-or-die match where they replayed G2 in the last chance qualifier, they ended up losing, which means that Vitality didn't qualify for the Blast World Arena Finals. G2 did. So on paper, you can say the result wasn't that good, but I think in terms of the future, there's a lot of positives to be said about Vitality. I think once they play Spinks warm within that lineup, once they make him feel comfortable, you have Zywoo, you have Spinks, you have Dupree, who also had a decent tournament, it's gonna be a very dangerous lineup. I'm more positive for the future of Vitality than I've been in quite some time. So I'll give him, you know, the trending upwards despite not qualifying for the finals. Well, unlucky. They can still try in the showdown. NaVi, stable as ever. Their tournament was a little bit atypical. Simple was not playing in the group stages, or in the first week of the group stage. Hetrick was standing in for him. They did fine anyway. They ended up winning their group after losing the very first game to Complexity. They just took it from the lower bracket and ended up winning the group with Hetrick as a stand-in. When Simple came back, no doubt about it, of course, Simple, I mean, he didn't have the best game in the one game he did get to play, but NaVi won it and instantly qualified for the finals in Royal Arena. Not really surprised. I think it's safe to say FaZe Clan and NaVi, you know, two teams who both qualified for Royal Arena. It's gonna be their season again. I'm having a hard time seeing G2, Vitality, OG, NIP, or any teams really, you know, giving it up for FaZe or NaVi. I feel like right now you have number 1, you have number 2, and then the rest are all fighting for who's the third best team in the world. So good to see NaVi play again. Good to see Simple come back. We only get to see him in one best of 3, but what we saw was all right. He was a little bit anonymous on map number 1, and then he had a massive clutch, like a crazy Simple clutch in map number 2 for NaVi, and as said, you know, they qualified, they got the job done. Not really a big surprise right there. Let's move focus then to some of the negative stuff. Heroic. What happened to Heroic? Just before the player break, They removed Refresh from the lineup. They brought in Yabi. Yabi coming from Copenhagen Flames, a great talent coming out of Denmark, a player that I think has potential to be a really, really good player, a player that potentially could elevate Heroic to the next level. At least that's the reasoning they gave in terms of why did you make this roster change. Well, they were not okay with being, you know, 4th, 5th, 6th best team in the world. They wanted to be better. They wanted to win trophies. They wanted to, I guess, do better at the major. So a semi-final, quarter-final, not enough for Heroic. They wanted to go all the way to the final and perhaps win the major. Well, they took the decision, removed Refresh and brought in Yabi. At Cologne, they finished last in the main tournament. Massive disappointment, but okay. It was the first tournament for Yabi. They didn't have that much of a bootcamp leading into it, so we gave them the player break, we gave them a bootcamp more, and then at Blast they were supposed to show better signs. They didn't. They didn't qualify for Royal Arena. 12 teams at the group stages, 6 progressed to the fall finals in Royal Arena. Heroic weren't one of those teams. To me, that's very disappointing. We're talking about a team that made a roster change in order to accommodate being one of the best teams in the world, and they couldn't qualify. In the games they lost, they weren't bad, you know. They also beat FaZe in the group stage in a best of one. It was okay. Had a rough loss to Liquid, had a rough loss to NIP as well in the decider, but overall I was just left a little bit disappointed. I'm willing to give them some more time, but Heroic didn't have a great tournament, and as said, Heroic didn't qualify. Too bad for them. Another thing we just have to touch upon a little bit is Astralis. One big question mark to me, right? They were the big focus for the entire tournament. They have failed to qualify for 3 major qualifiers, right? They tried to qualify for the RMRs 3 times, failed all 3 times, which meant that the 4th and final qualifier was taking place at the same time as Blast was running. They ended up winning the group, or week 1 group, which placed them in the best seed in the bracket, which was insane. No one would have thought that. Astralis coming out of nowhere, doing a great job winning the group in week 1. And then it fell flat again. They lost the decider game to OG. Then they went into another last chance qualifier game against FaZe, where they also lost, and they ended up not qualifying for Royal Arena. It could potentially be the first time that we're not going to see Astralis play inside what is their home field, home turf. The national arena, Blast Royal Arena, has always been about celebrating Astralis, celebrating Danish Counter-Strike, and Heroic didn't qualify. Vitality with 2 Danish players didn't qualify, and Astralis didn't qualify. All 3 teams are going to the showdown. For me, Astralis is a question mark because they played good Counter-Strike in week 1. Week 2, it wasn't looking too good. But then again, they also qualified for the RMR tournament in the 4th qualifier, 4th open qualifier at the RMR. They actually managed to qualify. So we will be seeing Astralis at the RMR and potentially qualifying for the major. So I'm left as a question mark. Do I think they're getting better? Do I think they're getting worse? Were they good? Were they bad? I honestly can't make up my mind. I think there's a couple of players that there's a couple of players that didn't really perform up to what we expected, and then there's one role within the team that still hasn't been solved. You know, Farley on the AWP, I hate to call out a single player, but he doesn't have enough quality to be part of Astralis as an AWP if they want to stand any chance of making any results this year. So I really hope, and I think we all do, fingers crossed, that maybe they could convince Device to come back. Maybe they could convince NIP to slack a bit on the buyout. It's been rumored that he's cost it $600,000. That's a player who hasn't played an official game in almost a year by now. That's a lot of money, but if I'm Astralis, I'm willing to spend the money. Hell, I'll even chime in with the first $5,000 if they end up doing it, man. You know where to find me, Astralis. You know where to find me. So yeah, that's the main talking points for Blast, I'd say. The group stage. Counter-Strike is back. Good to see it back. On the video right here, you can see which teams that qualified and which teams that went to the showdown. So it's going to be 6 showdowns. It's going to be rough. Only 1 team will qualify for the European section of the showdown. 1 team will qualify for the NA section of the showdown. And then we have the 6 teams who qualified throughout the group stage. So yeah, I guess it's going to be tough for Astralis, Heroic, or Vitality. Only one of those teams, literally only one of those teams is going to qualify, and potentially none of them are going to qualify. It could be that all 3 go down in the showdown and don't qualify. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried when it comes to Danish Counter-Strike and the Blast Royal Arena finals. But outside of that, super happy that we got to see some Tier 1 Counter-Strike. Pro League is starting in just a couple of days as well. So everything is just lining up again. It's going to be busy, and as said, Counter-Strike is back, baby. What's not to like?